There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Oh my God, we're $242 million in, and our lead actress hates our film, our actors, our storyline. There's rumors that she and Gal Gadot don't get along either because one's pro-Palestinian, one is pro-Israel.
A lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie,
Right.
Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
The movie apparently is not very good. I haven't seen it yet. I would be shocked if it were. Again, the star, Rachel Zegler, is unbelievably charmless in public. Studios really need to go back to what they originally did, which was tell your stars to shut up and not say things, because no one is paying to hear your star say offensive things off the screen.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
Not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
What if a remake of a beloved classic turned into one of the most expensive missteps in Disney history? That's exactly what happened with Disney's live-action Snow White, a film that cost over $270 million, ignited a wave of backlash, and left audiences wondering, how did this even get made? Let's unravel the fairy tale that spiraled into a PR nightmare, and why everyone is still talking about it.
Now you have Rachel Zegler saying, oh, that 1937 movie, that's just, oh, it's tacky, it's weird, we're gonna change all that. I mean,
It all started when Disney decided to dust off the crown jewel of its animated vault, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the first full-length animated feature in cinematic history. On paper, reviving an iconic fairy tale should be a home run, but this wasn't just a remake. It was a total overhaul, one that ditched more than just nostalgia. Disney was aiming for a modern take, but instead of a fresh spin, what they delivered left fans scratching their heads and clenching their wallets.
There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
Enter Rachel Zegler. Talented? Sure. But the moment she was cast as Snow White, the internet lit up with criticism. And it wasn't just about her looks. Fans were furious over her public comments, which came across as dismissive, even mocking, of the original 1937 film. In interview after interview, Zegler downplayed the classic story, calling it outdated and boring. Even worse, her chemistry with the character felt non-existent. This wasn't a star embracing an iconic role. It was someone treating the entire thing like an obligation. And then there was Gal Gadot as the evil queen. Beautiful? Yes. But in a story where the queen is jealous of Snow White's beauty, the casting just didn't land. Fans joked that the magic mirror must have been broken.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
She has to wear that dress. She should get paid for streaming. For every hour she has to wear the dress. I mean, talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
As promo season rolled out, things only got worse. Zegler's interviews kept trending, for all the wrong reasons. She said the movie wasn't about love anymore. She said she deserved to be paid for every hour in that dress. And she admitted to not even liking the original film. By the time the trailer dropped, fans weren't excited. They were irritated. Instead of building hype, Zegler managed to convince fans that even she didn't care about the film. So why should they?
That means Snow White is destined to be one of the biggest bombs in Disney history. It will not recoup.
Accusing Disney of inserting unnecessary feminism into classic fairy tales.
Now, let's talk about the dwarfs, or more accurately, the lack of them. One of the most defining features of the original story was Snow White's friendship with 7 tiny, quirky companions. But in the remake, they were replaced with CGI-enhanced, full-sized humans dubbed magical creatures. The reasoning? Disney wanted to avoid stereotypes, but the execution? A confusing mess. The charm and whimsy of the dwarfs? Gone. And yes, actor Peter Dinklage weighed in, calling the idea problematic, but fans quickly pushed back. Wasn't the solution to cast authentically, not erase them entirely? What Disney framed as modernization felt more like erasure, and audiences noticed.
It showed that the dwarves were not, in fact, dwarves in Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, because that would be offensive apparently to little people, so instead, they just made the dwarves normal-sized humans, which was idiotic, because that's not the story. Then they decided they couldn't actually cast little people in these roles. So they decided to cast big people and then shrink them down using CGI, so it looks terrible. Then they decided to cast Rachel Zegler, who is Hispanic, as Snow White. Now, again, you can cast people however you want to cast people. I really don't care. However, Snow White, in which the description of the character is skin as white as snow, lips red as the rose, right? I mean, like there's an actual physical description of the part. Not my fault it's written that way. It ain't racist to write it that way. That's the description of the part. That's what it is. The name of the movie is Snow White. Okay?
You'd think with $270 million at their disposal, Disney could buy some goodwill, but somehow the money went everywhere, except where it mattered. The trailers, lifeless, the posters, forgettable, the marketing, more focused on visuals than story. It was hard to tell what this movie was even about. Instead of recapturing the magic, Disney poured money into a glossy but soulless spectacle, and when early test screenings fell flat, they reshoots parts of the film. Yes, reshoots. That's never a good sign.
But is she not seen as box office poison now because of all of her antics?
You know, it's kind of a mixed track record. She's still fairly young.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
Then came the box office numbers, and they were brutal. Opening weekend projections hovered around $50 million, which was already low for a film of this scale. But the actual haul, around $43 million suddenly. A remake that was supposed to enchant a new generation became one of the biggest flops in Disney history. Fans stayed home, critics tore it apart, and the studio was left scrambling for answers.
Then they got even crazier and they decided that the dwarves in Snow White weren't woke enough, okay?
These are roles made for actors of my stature. I can't go out for the Harrison Ford or the George Clooney roles because that's not for me.
Right.
And now it's taken away. I don't feel that's right.
Some say the film was doomed the moment Zegler criticized the original. Others point to the missing dwarfs. Some say the tone was just off from the start. But here's the real takeaway. When you remake a classic, you need to honor what made it iconic, not tear it down. Fans weren't asking for a shot-for-shot copy, but they were expecting something respectful, nostalgic, and full of heart. Instead, they got a star who trashed the story, a reimagining that erased beloved characters, and a final product that felt more like a parody than a passion project.
Every time she opens her mouth, it's crisis mode when it comes to Disney, having to backtrack. She talks about how this isn't a fairy tale about falling in love with the prince. This is a fairy tale about fighting your own battle.
Now, one thing that is already universally known at this point by the general public is the fact that Disney is in full-on damage control mode.
What is this process now where it's like in order to be inclusive, you have to completely destroy storylines, completely destroy franchises? I don't believe in that. I don't think that consumers believe in that either.
Of it. So the more you do this, Disney, Iger, Rachel Zegler, whatever her name is, yes, this is exactly the backlash you're going to get from parents who have kids who are your customers. You're supposed to win parents over.
So, is there a silver lining? Maybe. Studios might finally realize that you can't rely on brand recognition alone. You can't spend hundreds of millions on CGI and expect it to cover up bad PR, poor casting, and a lack of heart. And for actors, if you're stepping into an iconic role, bring some respect. You don't have to love every detail, but at least pretend like it matters. Zegler might be talented, but her tone came off as dismissive, detached, and that's not what audiences want from someone playing a childhood icon.
If Disney wants to make more woke films that tank at the box office, they are more than welcome to do that, but maybe think of an original idea.
A few lessons for Disney. Number one, stop cannibalizing all your old IP. Like, it's really bad. It's really bad business. Number two, please stop changing all of the historic plots, which actually have meaning to generations of people, to instead become generic woke story about how woman leads revolutionary uprising and she don't need no man.
So, here we are, one of the most expensive fairy tale reboots in history, and a cautionary tale for the ages. From casting controversy and missing dwarfs to tone-deaf interviews and a box office bomb, this is one remake that completely lost Mama the plot. But now I want to hear from you. Was Rachel Zegler the real reason for the flaw? Should Disney have stuck closer to the original storyline? Or was this just a doomed project from the start? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, if you enjoy breakdowns of cinematic highs and cringe-worthy lows, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next story we uncover. Because if Snow White taught us anything, it's that even the most magical stories can lose their sparkle when the heart behind them disappears. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and stay tuned.